Set in East County Longford, in the Irish Midlands, lies the village of Abbeyshrule. Surrounded by a mixture of rich agricultural land and bog, the village fords the River Inny on Ethin on the eastern boundary, whilst the Royal Canal on Canal Riaga forms the perimeter on the west, with the harbour nestled in the village. The remains of the ancient monastic abbey and parish graveyard lie to the southeast of the village. Immediately north is the Whitworth Aqueduct, a well-preserved example of 19th century stone masonry. Including the Whitworth Aqueduct, there are 4 bridges within the confines of the village. Known also in early Christian times as Shrule or Shrowl, the village takes its name from the Gaelic word for stream or river. Abbeyshrule, the abbey on the river. It is within these bridges that we endeavour to integrate all our natural amenities and waterways, heritage and monuments which we are fortunate to have.
We started participating over 30 years ago in National Tidy Towns competition. Abbeyshule's participation in Tidy Towns the experience has been very, very good down through the years. Generally, it's brought a great awareness of what we have and how much more we can make of what we have.
All development and planning in Abbeyshrule is carried out with a partnership arrangement with the local county council and Waterways Ireland as the main stakeholders. Abbeyshrule Tidy Villages has a 3-year action plan that is updated annually and reviewed with relevant stakeholders.
Cleanliness is the big thing, floral displays is the big thing, presentation of public buildings, residential areas, very, very important, and promotion of recreational walks and boating, very, very important. We developed our own plan, we got advice, professional advice, and I think it's the only way to go about it, is to have a good approach planned over 2 or 3 years and keep updating that as we see potential there. Well, in the built environment section, it's very much a snowball effect, where people, if they see their neighbours painting their house and their house looks well and it gets mentioned, that they'll follow suit and they'll do the same the next year, and there'll be a little bit of competition between houses, which is all good for us. And in particular, as you see around the village, there are some beautiful gardens.
Colour schemes are standardised throughout the village based on the natural and built environment and what seasonal planting will complement the landscape. Permanent and seasonal planting is coordinated and planned well in advance. Soil areas are prepared and examined for suitability and maximum impact and appropriateness for species chosen.
In Abbeyshrule, as with other villages, where you have nice picnic areas, where you have areas where people can park, can fish in comfort and walk along the banks of the canal, admire sculptures that's there, that'll make them stop, make them take an interest in your place, make them stop and make an awareness of we have 3 lovely walks in our village area, and they'll stop here and they'll say, right, we'll go for a walk, it's only an hour and a half, it's 3 kilometres or something like that, and then we'll go and we'll have a cup of coffee, or the children can fish, and kids can canoe in the canal, they can fish in the Inny River as well. Fishing is a big thing in our area. Well, in street furniture and sculptures and things like that, we've used local people like Brendan Cullen from Drumlish, who does a lot of artistic work on bog oak, and his work can be seen throughout the village. We use him because he's very, very much in touch with nature and bogs and and he can convert a lot of what he sees in bog oak into material things that are very, very striking and very impressive.
It is believed that the Cistercian monks originally came to Abbeyshrule, circa 1150, and developed a large mixed-use settlement around the present monastic site. The site at present represents a great deal of historic evidence of its physical construction and the workings of past societies. A find of early Bronze era implements, namely the prehistoric Clonbryn shield, which is now in permanent exhibition in the National Museum, points to pre-Christian habitations. Today, the ruins of a cloister, a tower house, and a small church remain. Many features of the abbey are unique in their character and construction, and one such example is the abbey chambers. These are 3-barrel vaulted chambers, which were added in the 15th century. The adjoining graveyard contains the shaft of the only surviving high cross in County Longford.
The rewatering of the Royal Canal and provision of river and canal bank walkways has attracted a lot of fishermen to our area, and along with the airfield, annual vintage displays and the Goldsmith Summer School, we have quite an abundance of tourists and sightseers to our village.
Use of the airport developed over the years for business travel, leisure flying, pilot training, flight tests and aircraft maintenance. The annual air show attracted up to 6,000 people and over 80 visiting aircraft. The new terminal building and the large tarmac parking areas on the north side has added immensely to the functioning of the aerodrome.
Our canal banks are a valued resource and afford a focal point for families and village folk to meet and enjoy activities.
The canal was used for a long period for commercial transport. The canal then went into decline and closed to navigation in 1961. Successive local programmes of redevelopment and preservation work started in the 1980s and have managed to restore much of the former glory of the Royal Canal in the Abbeyshrule area.
There are many green open spaces, both formal and informal, in the village. Our 2 housing developments have generous green space allocations, which reflect the relaxed open plan of the village, and priority is given to sustainable and positive living spaces for village inhabitants.
All available opportunities, we've used white thorn in hedges and the natural white thorn hedges. We've used native species there wherever we could. Birch trees are pretty much at home in our environment and they're thriving. Of course, the ash tree is very, very important. It's the natural trees that happiest in this environment, like the ash in particular. Now, in the natural environment area of Tidy Towns, it's very, very important. The recycling is a big, big issue. Composting is another area where nearly every house have their own composter at their houses now, so there's no more running to bogs or to bog holes or anything like that with waste. We have 15 new houses in the village in Corncrake Meadows, and they're solar powered, and the people in the houses will tell you that it's a big, big issue. It reduces their energy costs, their electricity, so we have come a long, long way, and that was part of the planning that was done with Longford County Council in the last 15 years.
The village green, Fisherman's Haven and Canal Harbour areas are well maintained throughout the year, whereas other green spaces allow for less maintenance given their waterside location or biodiversity sensitivities.
And we'll utilise areas that we have environmentally friendly for birds, for different things like that, so that we're not going to be cutting grass in places where we shouldn't be cutting grass. We can plant areas where shrubs will thrive and do well in them, and the environmental area will be much more improved because of that. Butterflies, all the different snails and insects that have to live and are an integral part of our culture here in the village. Our bird life and wildlife on the Royal Canal and on the River Inny is very, very important to us. We have reared many ducks on the canal. A couple of ladies took us serious interest in bringing them on and feeding them and locking them up at night and safe and secure. And they have, in turn, they have bred in our local places. You can go anywhere you go, you'll see a duck's nest now at this stage around the village.
Work is also progressing on the provision of wildlife signage for the bird sanctuary and fishing areas.
There are a few areas around the village, approximately 4 acres of it, that have been inaccessible for farming purposes, so they have been let grow wild. And on the Ballymahan Road in particular, there's an area there. It's completely wild, it's completely covered with the natural briars, bushes, everything that could grow wild in an Irish environment. And it's a haven for blackbirds and thrushes and birds like that, and you'll hear them singing in the summer evenings. It's beautiful down there.
We meet with the school principal in local schools and discuss how we can incorporate our Tidy Towns projects with their school's environmental awareness programme. This year a wildlife essay competition was held for 5th and 6th class children from both Coalhill National School and Tishinny National School.
But when I read them, I was very, very impressed. The amount of research you put into them. It was evident you went to the internet and got information on raised bogs, forests, wildlife, fish.
The topic was wildlife in our area and how we care for it.
Were you expecting that? Well, good night. Enjoy it now. And the environment.
Wildlife in our area and how I can care for it. I live in Coalhill, just outside Abbeyshrule. Two of my favourite places to go are Newcastle Forest and along the banks of the Royal Canal. I particularly like Newcastle Forest because of all the trees and flowers, such as common dog violet, lords and ladies, primroses.
The setup of tidy villages and the constitution of tidy villages is having different people taking on different tasks, and there's a lot of meeting in it, and it brings people out more into the community, cross-talk, getting people showing their different interests in gardening, sowing trees, sowing shrubs, and you work on people's strengths. And it's all about giving good example and leadership, because if we don't go out and lead, no one will bother. It's as simple as that. People get involved in tidy villages who have different interests down in different avenues, like bird life, and some people like streetscapes and working with flowers and working with all those things, and it's an amalgamation of all those different categories that makes it successful. And people do iron work, they do their gardens, they do an awful lot of different stuff. And somebody who does a bit of writing, filling up all strengths and doing preparation and for application forms, looking for grants and all, it goes right across the community, and it integrates a lot of people into in pursuit of the one goal, and that's to be successful at Tidy Towns. And as well as that, like, there's no monetary reward in Tidy Towns, and the only reward we get is the pride that we have achieved something in it in our lifetime. We're just passing through, and that we'll leave a mark after us. And I have to express my gratitude in particular for being chairperson for the last few years and enjoying working with other people who are so good at doing what to do, and the goodness and the help and all the rest and the assistance that come out of it. It makes you feel proud to be from Abbeyshrule, and that, well, I hope to spend the rest of my life here anyway. And it's a lovely village, and people are very good and kind, and if you're in any bother or any trouble like that, the Tidy Towns will come out the same as everyone else to help you, and the GA club and all, and we're part of a great community, and it's a good place to live in.